So we were talking to Brian last time, and a whole bunch of stuff happened. Basically, we got caught by the Empire. That's the short of it. We got caught by the Empire. And now we're on their prison ship.
Do they get dumped into a garbage chute and the walls start coming in on them?
No. No, they don't, unfortunately.
Oh man, is this a laser hallway they're gonna move through all sexy?
Yeah, it's an electric eye. Oh shit! Another Star Wars parallel just occurred to me, because no, we don't get dumped into a garbage chute, but the princess was up here. So we do reunite with Princess Ash aboard this, what is effectively a Star Destroyer. Granted, they were on the Death Star, but this is close enough. Because this game's equivalent of the Death Star doesn't appear till the very end.
This is, I think, some of the most I've seen in a Final Fantasy where they have clashed the old world, like swords and shields and shit, with
technology.
Yeah, like super fucking high technology.
Very much so. And I think that's supposed to be a sign of the discrepancy between. No, not even a discrepancy between cultures, because Rabanastre has its own airship fleet, but it's often, as is often the case in fantasy, it's like fantasy technology.
Yeah.
Right, because like we were just on that floating continent of Ujerba, and it floats because it's composed of, I think it's called floatstone. Like they have a special stone basically, which just has magical properties, which allows it to float. And that's how they power their airships, or at least that's what gives their airships lift. Is they equip them with floatstone or whatever it's called.
She's got the arrow in her teeth.
She does.
Son of a bitch, that's cool.
I know, it's so cool.
And then our boy Bosch has like a croquet mallet or something.
Yeah, it's a hammer, but it's basically just a croquet mallet. And then Balthier just has a gun.
That's cool.
Yeah, a long-barreled gun. But their airships are made of fantasy floatstone. It gives them lift, and they're able to power it with, I think, just regular-ass power or some sort. But then there were lasers and shit, and it's like, that's a thing. But then people don't seem to... It's unclear if people have electric lights in their homes, or if they're just traditional lamps. It really... This one, it has the most techie tech, and the most fantasy of any Final
Especially
Fantasy.
having all the jobs and the wide variety of weapons. It isn't just like, oh, you have sword character with his swords. It's like, no, there's like the whole job system, and like, oh, it's just fucking cool. It's fucking cool.
It does work, and again, you can draw a parallel between this and Star Wars again, because that's one of the strengths of Star Wars, is that it's far future, but it also has these anachronisms all over the place, where it's far future, but it's also feudal Japan and the American Old West, all melded into one uniform aesthetic.
It's nothing. I'll be fine.
So you have Darth Vader, who's this fucking samurai space wizard walking around in this big black cape aboard an intergalactic starship, and it's like, fine,
why not?
This works for me.
I got a trophy.
Oh yeah. Never turn trophies off because I'm an idiot.
And anything that helps cover up Vaughn's dumb head.
Yeah. God, that cut was almost perfect. So far, we only have one job for each character. Pretty soon we're going to get two, but it does mean that right now you're a little bit limited. So I think I made... Now that Ash has officially joined the party, I think I made her...
I will not place my trust in the sword of a
I think I made her a monk to begin with.
Just bopping people in the fucking face.
Because like I don't know who my healer was, but they were doing well enough. So I'm like, or maybe she's a white mage, and then I made her a monk later. She might be my healer now.
That's a good combo.
It is a good combo. Like I said, they give monks a lot of access to white magic. It's usually off in their ancillary stuff that you normally would need like summons to get to, but by making them a white mage, now you have automatic access to it, which gives you automatic access to the squares that border those white mage squares.
It's always frustrating when a monk's ability to heal itself is never like worth it. You know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah, like the chakra ability in 5, where it's like you can heal yourself for a little bit, okay.
Like, it's only really works if you have other party members and they are taking the beating somehow while you get lucky and heal yourself for like 53.
But here it's nice because you can set up your gambit system so that basically they're a white mage first and foremost. Then if no one needs healing, they'll start bopping people with their stick. It's like, yeah, okay, once there's a moment, you get in for some damage, but then once some things start to get hairy, you start throwing out that Kiraja.
I picture a monk being able to cure themselves of status ailments.
That's a common trope among monks within fantasy, going all the way back to D&D. It's like they can just kind of purge their body through focusing, and then in D&D, and I think sometimes in Final Fantasy maybe, they get to a point to where they're just immune to all of it. Like their body becomes so physically perfect that it just can't be afflicted with anything.
You like how Vaughn's in the background all bummed out that he's getting no attention?
Oh god, it's great. Now that the gang's all together, Vaughn is just almost always in the background moping.
Even Pinello is like part of it. Like they're like
in a way that Vaughn's not.
They're like, we have to go rescue her, and now she's cool and one of our best friends. And he's like, why don't I get a crystal?
Yeah.
Where's mine?
Penelo's been on the party for 8 seconds, and already the Emperor's little brother is like, hey, take this super special magic rock. Hold on to it for me, babe. And she's like, cool.
And Balthier's like, this soup's beginning to taste a little bit less like shit.
Oh.
Such a great shame.
Vaughn's like, why am I the shit in the soup metaphor?
Vaughn just gets that deflated face they get in Rick and Morty.
He's like, I thought I was salt at first. No, it's not. The salt. A little bit of salt's good, but you, my friend, you're just a little turd floating around in a big pot of soup. We gotta add a lot more soup to cover up that poop.
So he just addressed that point that I brought up about Ash's claim to the throne, to where no one knows what the fuck Ash looks like. She has her only proof that she was the princess was the rock that Van got from the palace earlier, because it's a special magic rock that glows when she holds it. It's like, okay, if you're part of the Dynast King's lineage, then these rocks react when you have them. But now they have that special rock. And so he was like, well, now that we have that rock, we don't need you. And he said a maid of passing resemblance will do. So it's like, even the people who know what she looks like wouldn't know what she looks like 2 years later and go, yeah, I guess that's her. Fine.
You know, she just cut her hair and changed her outfits and
kicked those boots off.
Yeah, yeah, girl. live your life however you
Live
please.
Moss. You live Moss, girl. Live Moss.
Look at her cool ass pose too.
Yeah, it's great.
What is that? She's so cool.
I know. I only wish she was wearing something that wasn't that.
I only wish she was wearing more than a dishcloth that seems to only be held together by the belt.
The belts. It seems like she might be wearing something similar to. She might be wearing something similar to Pain. Like she has to put the belt down, put the dishcloth over it, lay down, put the second dishcloth over her waist, then do up the belt. The whole time wondering what the fuck she's doing. Holy fit for leading man, I love you both here. We had a similar moment to this in 10. Remember when we got, right after we rescued, not rescued, but after Yuna had her marriage to Seymour. There's that bit where the camera's like staring at the steps and the characters, they yell something and they run by one at a time. It was similar to that, except there they learned how to frame it and make it all make sense.
They're learning how to actually frame our heroes in a heroic way,
and they're getting a grasp on they've achieved a grasp on simultaneous action within the scene. It's not like you run and say your line, then you run and say your line. Like it's like an old kung fu movie where they run at the guy one at a time. It's like everything's going on at the same time, so if you want it to work like this, you're going to have one character in front who gets out ahead, stops, then the characters who are behind catch up and pass them.
And building on the characters in those little scenes, like Vaughn being like, blah, 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 and then like Fran saying something awesome, and like just getting good at telling the story visually, like and through the acting and everything. Like it's just so good. Like
it's very good. It's incredible.
It makes me really excited to get back into 15 to see if it's there.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Oh yeah. If they still have that grasp, because God, they
certainly wasn't there in 13.
Well, 13 has a lot of problems. I think its biggest one is probably well, no,
He may
no. Its
actually
biggest
rule
one,
the Empire, but his heart
its
is
biggest
not.
problems were its character and
It
its
is as he
world
says.
and its world building
I ought not
and
have
its
kept
character
on
building.
so great a distance
And like, there's a little
for so
character
long
there to
time.
begin with, but then
I have played
early
the fool.
early Final Fantasies had very anemic
You are
characters.
only being cautious.
I didn't care. It
Majesty,
was still
I
a
would
fun
ask
game
you
to
for
play.
some time.
13 just isn't
On
fun
our
to
own, we
play.
struggle in vain
That's
to
why we're
destroy
not playing it for the year of Final
must
Fantasy,
search
because I
out
started
another
to
way.
record it at the start of the summer.
Until I should find
I got
it,
2 hours in
will
and
March
went,
remain at your
I'm
side.
not doing this.
We'll do the year Final Fantasy hangover.
Yeah.
But I measure his
1
loyalty to
hour
Dalmasca
or such
no
at Final
less
Fantasy
than
30,
my
as
own.
much as we can stomach.
Yeah.
I know you would not.
It's a
speak
race
so
to
lightly.
see what
Very well.
lasts longer, us not passing out from drinking or quitting.
tolerance
yeah,
for 13.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah, it's like they really, really peaked right here in this game. Like, I don't believe. I mean, I've only played a few hours of 15, and it was a while. I mean, it's hard, right? Because even though I was somewhat familiar with the series, I'm not. Now I'm like way fucking
Yeah.
familiar with it. Fuck.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like music, right? Before I got into rock and roll and blues, if you would have played me an old blues song back when I was just listening to like punk, I would have been like, this is stupid. So I didn't know what I was looking for. Now I know what makes a Final Fantasy game a Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
And so now when I go back to 15, maybe I'll have new eyes and I'll be able to pull everything out of it, and maybe it will be really great.
When
But I
Vossler
still,
learned my
just
father
from
had
what
been
I've seen
killed the night
in
of
these
the treaty
videos of
signing, he
this
returned to
and what I
Earth and
remember
asked
of playing
if they could aid my
15,
escape.
I feel like
There
the
was still
series
time
peaked
before
here.
Vane's reach extended too
This is
far.
great. Like, this seems really fucking good. It seems like a really good game.
However,
Oh, it is.
when I then made
It's
the announcement
the
that you
the
had
playing
taken
of
your
it
own
is
life,
an impediment to
must
some
have seen
extent,
the
because a lot of people just
modern citizen
they
of the
don't like the
Empire.
gamut system, and I don't blame them, but I don't mind it. It's why I was so excited to play through this. Why I've wanted to play through
Of
for the
course,
past decade,
at the
since
time I was reluctant,
I only ever beat
but
it
I can
once,
perceive his
and
reasons.
the
Now
story
it's
is
clear
told
he meant to
very
drive a wedge
well,
between
but
us.
ultimately it's not the most compelling of Final
Colleen,
Fantasy
we are past
stories.
all this.
Yeah.
Monsieur
and
must stand with us.
We
can
might
stop
figure
Bane.
out why by the time we get to the end of it, or we might not. But it's still very good. But the technical, just the telling part of it is amazing.
Yeah.
I once knew a girl whose only wish was to be carried in her uncle's arms.
What are we doing saying all this, like, good shit
Your
about,
Majesty
like,
is a
you
woman
know,
grown now.
this isn't what people want to watch.
No, they want us to like shit on stuff and then yell about how they're part of like the CDP Nation, or they'd be, or I guess if we had followers, they'd be called like the CD players,
The
CD peanut nards.
the CD penises, and then they'd love that because they'd be like 90% male.
And yeah, because then we were like totally excluding half the world in
Yeah.
our fan,
Yeah.
non-existent fan group. That's what people want.
Oh man, speaking of marginalizing half the world,
Just wait.
there's a new Magic set coming out next week, a joke one called Unstable, and there's a card in there called Blurry People, and when you play Blurry People, if the opponent is wearing glasses, it's unblockable.
What is the going rate
Because
for
it's like goofy bullshit rules.
Yeah.
And they were talking about like they were going into some stories about their design for some of the cards, and they got the Blurry Beeble, and it's called like Glasses Walk or something, the ability to be unblocked by someone wearing glasses. Originally it's called Beard Walk. It's like if the person has a beard, it was going to be called like Fuzzy Beeble or something. It's like it's unblockable if you have a beard.